Today on Investigate TV Plus, a failing grade.
Can't read it.
Just do your best.
I can't. I don't know any of these words.
Thousands of students grapple with word comprehension even after taking specialized instruction.
The findings were not in the direction that Reading Recovery expected.
We investigate a teaching method researchers say actually hurt children's ability to read for decades and offer solutions to parents whose child may be struggling in class. Plus,
we can't take anything for granted anymore because could potentially lose life of staff or students.
School threats surge in the aftermath of a Georgia tragedy, but our investigation found
some of the kids explained that they were doing it on a dare or for a joke.
We take an in-depth look at hoax calls and efforts to track and prevent them.
And a little boy living with a rare skin condition inspires hope and optimism. In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Learning to read is a complex process that researchers suggest is like cracking a code. A child must first figure out the relationship between sounds and letters, then find meaning. But for some children, the connection can be a challenge and they require extra instruction. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. For parents, watching a child struggle to read can be heartbreaking and even frustrating for some. Common reading disorders include difficulty decoding words, poor comprehension, lack of fluency, anxiety, and dyslexia. While most children receive appropriate assistance, some parents and researchers are concerned one reading remediation used in schools for decades did not work.
Investigative reporter Andy Perotti takes an in-depth look at the controversy surrounding the program and speaks to parents advocating for change.
That's why.
Reading does not come easy for Sophia Quinn.
Think about that.
The 14-year-old struggles with dyslexia. A few years ago, her first grade teacher in Gwinnett County, Georgia, took notice and offered to help.
Her teacher approached me and said, there's this wonderful program. We select one kid from each class. I was so thankful.
After 20 weeks in the program, Sophia's reading did not improve.
What's the cheapest pet you got?
It seemed to be getting worse. And what frustrated her mother the most, the school called her daughter a success story and suggested passing her on to the next grade.
So now all the alarms are going off and I'm expressing my frustration with how are we passing her but she can't read.
Sophia was enrolled in a program called Reading Recovery. It's one-on-one instruction for the lowest performing students in first grade struggling to read. Once hailed as one of the most effective intervention models used by school districts across the country for decades, Investigate TV uncovered evidence that it could be harmful to children.
Can't read it.
Just do your best.
I can't. I don't know any of these words.
This is Matthew Purcell. He was in the same reading program as Sophia.
Whenever I do my best.
A few months into it, his mother, Missy, noticed something strange. She says while Matthew was reading at home, she saw him guessing words using pictures on the page, not sounding the words out.
Most of the time when he was reading, he was looking at the words and then the pictures, words, pictures, words, pictures. So he was reading pictures. He was being cued by the pictures.
What Missy is talking about is a reading method called 3 cueing. It's a theory where kids are encouraged to only sample the letters and the words in the text, relying mostly on prediction and context for comprehension. For example, a child may be shown a page with this picture and text. If the child can't read the word sad, they're often asked to look at the dog and ask themselves if the word they're thinking makes sense. Does it sound right? Does it look right? Some experts believe cueing doesn't put enough emphasis on phonics, sounding out words.
The findings were not in the direction that Reading Recovery expected.
Henry May is a professor at the University of Delaware. Reading Recovery asked him to conduct the largest study of its program ever, tracking thousands of students in multiple states over 13 years. He published his results, showing the short-term impact to students largely positive. But then,
it wasn't until we looked at the kids' outcomes years later when they reached 3rd and 4th grade that we saw that the results had completely flipped. There was a negative impact of Reading Recovery.
While at least 19 states have banned 3Qing or walked away from reading recovery over the past few years, Investigate TV uncovered Georgia State University and other universities continue to teach it.
If you have something that has research that shows that it is harmful, not only just not beneficial, but harmful to children, it should be banned.
Dr. Caitlin Dooley is the chair of the university's Department of Early Childhood and Elementary Education.
It's been around for a long time. It has a strong scientific background, and so we are offering it when it's in demand. And there are still districts that are requesting that we provide that training, and we believe that it works.
The Reading Recovery Council of North America, which develops the curriculum, and Dr. Dooley both tell us they consider Professor May's study flawed, pointing out that 75% of its original participants dropped out.
So they could have had one lesson with reading recovery, or they could have had 50 lessons. We don't know from the way this study was written up.
No matter how we analyze the data, and no matter what other data we bring to bear, there is no denying that we see a negative impact of reading recovery. And the only explanation that I think is plausible is that reading recovery actually does harm students.
I'm trying to get to the bottom.
Education systems in Georgia and across the country undergoing a reading reset of their curriculum.
Why does all of this matter?
We've got children across the state who are products of a failed intervention.
While some institutions hold on to long-time controversial teaching practices.
The reading recovery community has taken our results and simply dismissed them, and they have elected not to change and improve their program. And that, to me, is really disappointing.
You can't change what you don't know, but now that you do know, let's change and do what's best. Just do the right thing. Like, these are kids.
Since 1984, Reading Recovery says nearly 2.5 million students have participated in its program or its Spanish language counterpart.
If your child is struggling to read, the National Education Association recommends you should try to read with your child every day. Talk to them and build vocabulary. Visit the library. Discuss what you've read. And if you have any other concerns, be sure to reach out to your child's pediatrician.
Still to come, a little boy faced daily pain.
My skin was hurting super bad when I woke up.
And an even bigger challenge when he tried to sleep.
I normally try to lay on my back, but sometimes it's not comfy.
We go inside his courageous journey for a life-changing surgery to ease his discomfort.
But first, a string of copycat school threats nationwide.
After the Georgia shooting has been an increase like we haven't seen for a while.
Taxed law enforcement resources and time.
We look at every single one of them.
We examine what's behind this troubling trend and the solutions to end the pattern. Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms.
Just 1 month into the 2024 school year, the Barrow County, Georgia Sheriff's Office says a 14-year-old student opened fire in Appalachia High School. The shooting killed 2 teachers and 2 students.
Following the deadly shooting, the FBI says schools around the country received a surge of threats resulting in closures, lockdowns, and an increase in local police presence. For example, in Arizona, there were more than 150 school threats made in September of 2024, and prosecutors say in just 24 days from September into October, they filed criminal charges against more than 24 teenagers.
Investigative reporter Morgan Lowe digs deeper into the origin of the threats and offers insight into what parents can do to ensure their child's safety.
This was the scene at Levine's Betty Fairfax High School, October 19, 2024. Phoenix police responding to a school threat at homecoming.
I didn't know what was going on. What I did know was that I heard screams.
One by one.
I always knew that was going to be a night to remember. I just never thought I would remember it like this.
In front of the school board, students from Fairfax High pleaded with board members to take extra security measures.
Metal detectors and police officers should be implemented in all Phoenix Union schools. Along with metal detectors and safety officers,
The threat at Betty Fairfax High was just one of a flood of threats that made it to Arizona schools in the fall of 2024.
He gave up, got on the ground, and the deputy took him into custody.
It started on September 4th, 2024, when police say a 14-year-old boy opened fire at a high school in Georgia, killing 4 people. Between the time of that shooting and the end of September, law enforcement officials in Arizona received reports of more than 150 threats to schools.
After the Georgia shooting has been an increase like we haven't seen for a while.
C.J. Wren is a Phoenix police detective who tracks school threats for the state's Counterterrorism Information Center.
What can you tell me about the kids who make these threats?
There's no profile for someone who's going to threaten a school. There are some actually very good kids that just either made a mistake, thought it was a joke, something along those lines, or they're reposting, someone else's threat.
But Wren says every threat is getting investigated as if it were deadly.
We look at every single one of them. We can't take anything for granted anymore because could potentially lose life of staff or students.
That's astounding.
Rachel Mitchell is the Maricopa County attorney.
Why are we seeing so many of these?
I think once somebody does it, there tends to be a copycat or more than one copycat. Some of the kids explained that they were doing it on a dare or for a joke. And that's one of the reasons we've been really emphasizing the parents need to talk to their kids about not saying this.
None of the threats to Arizona's schools resulted in an actual shooting, but they have had a negative impact on students, parents, and teachers. The Phoenix Union School Board meeting was clear evidence of that.
Today, I would like to share that I do not feel safe at school during school events, and I have been told by my peers as well they do not feel safe too.
The students have anxiety about coming to school, not to mention staff members, administrators of how they have to deal with all these. And then finally with law enforcement, that because we are looking at every single one of these threats and taking every one of them seriously, until we can figure out that it's not a true threat.
The night of the threat at Fairfax High School, Phoenix police were dealing with dozens of other crime calls at the time they were called to the school.
So when other people are calling police and waiting for a response, it's because the police officers are at the school.
What is the solution to ending this?
Well, I think the solution is always going to be for the parents to have open communication with their kids. Parents need to have that blatant of a conversation with their kids. You don't talk about killing people.
Police say about 80% of those threats came in via social media, and at least one originated outside the country. Several more were either identical to or similar to threats made in other parts of the U.S. Investigators say if you see a threat on social media, send it to police. Do not repost it. In Phoenix, I'm Morgan Look.
Still to come, from dispatching
132, priority 3,
to delivering.
And I was like, okay, we're gonna deliver a baby now.
How a rookie 911 operator was put to the test.
But first, a little boy demonstrates bravery beyond his years. We introduce you to Carter and explore how doctors corrected the condition that left him without the ability to blink.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
You might not know this, but skin is our largest organ. It covers the entire body and makes up about 1/7 of our body weight. Skin provides protection from injury and germs, helps regulate body temperature, and allows us to feel sensations. But for one little boy in Las Vegas, his skin has been a source of constant discomfort since birth.
That's because Carter suffers from a disease that only affects 1 in 5,000 people in the United States. Reporter Victoria Saha takes an in-depth look at his rare condition and shows us how he inspires others to appreciate the small things in life.
Carter's young life has been filled with complex twists and turns. He's experienced bullying, restless nights, and unthinkable pain.
My skin was hurting super bad when I woke up.
The hurting, a result of a rare genetic skin condition called lamellar ichthyosis. According to the National Institutes of Health, lamellar ichthyosis usually appears at birth and causes thick, plate-like scales that can cover large parts of the body. The condition also causes hair loss, decreased ability to sweat, and increased sensitivity to heat.
These ice packs are like cold, so I put it on, and then these ice pack like makes me not get hot like super fast.
Carter's mom, Shy Breezy, moisturizes her son's body up to 7 times a day with special products. But despite her care, scaly, dry skin makes it difficult for Carter to simply be a kid.
Why does such a great kid have to go through all of these everyday struggles?
But the most troubling part of his struggle, the skin around Carter's eyelids are so tight and dry, it caused them to tighten and turn outward.
His skin is so dry and tight that it pulls his upper lid basically flat.
As a result, Carter was unable to blink for his entire life, and he had to sleep with his eyes open.
I normally try to lay on my back, but sometimes it's not comfy.
Doctors say the inability to blink not only leads to dry, unprotected eyes, but it also heightens anxiety and vulnerability, which can make it difficult for children like Carter to relax and achieve restful sleep. The resulting fatigue can affect overall well-being.
I'm going through like a lot and it hurts, but I have to go do it until I get surgery. And then it won't really hurt anymore.
And for that pain to go away, Carter and his mother traveled from their home in Las Vegas to Southern California so he can undergo a life-changing surgery.
We really had no idea what to expect in a case like this.
Dr. Bobby Korn is an ophthalmologist and plastic surgeon at UC San Diego. Dr. Korn says he's done hundreds of skin graft surgeries, but none like Carter's.
I did a lot of research for that entire month. And then being in a big academic medical center, we have colleagues in all these different areas and subspecialties. These are cases that we typically see 1 or 2 in our entire career, in our lifetime.
A condition so rare that Dr. Korn went back to his textbooks where he discovered a procedure he believed would work for Carter. After the 3-hour surgery,
I'll tell you, after we got the graft and placed them on the eyelid, everyone in the room was giving each other high fives.
Back in Las Vegas, Carter continues his recovery.
We can close them all the way.
And Shai says her son has discovered the joy of sleeping with his eyes closed.
He slept until noon today. He got the best night's sleep.
Carter will continue to follow up with care with Dr. Korn in San Diego. The skin graft surgery on his eyes should last about 10 years, but it depends on how his skin grows. In the meantime, his mom says Carter is looking forward to spending more time outdoors and playing in the park. In Las Vegas, I'm Victoria Saha.
Up next, express delivery.
It was just crazy. I'm still in disbelief like talking about it.
How a 911 operator kept her cool during a chaotic call and helped bring a baby girl into the world.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. "911 operators receive countless emergency calls, and for most people on the other end of the line, it's one of the worst days of their life.
But an early morning call to 911 dispatch outside St. Louis was different. Reporter Caroline Hecker shows us how it delivered joy.
Working under pressure is a way of life for a 911 dispatcher.
132, priority 3.
For Ashley Purcell, that took on a whole new meaning.
That was literally the first call that I took. I just sat down, just got signed in.
It was just after 5 a.m.
Okay.
When Ashley answered the phone. On the other end, Alexis McFerrin and her boyfriend.
It was just crazy. I'm still in disbelief like talking about it.
Ashley says mixed in with the chaos and yelling, the picture became clear.
Tell me exactly what happened. He's like, my wife's having a baby.
It's not that unusual of a call, she says, until she learned this.
And then I was like, okay, I have to ask, can you see any part of the baby? And he said, yes, the head's coming out. And I was like, okay, we're gonna deliver a baby now.
Back at the apartment,
I literally just came down the steps.
Alexis's water broke as she made her way slowly down the stairs and to her couch.
He kind of walked away and I'm like, you have to catch her. And he was like, no, I walked out because you were screaming and I couldn't hear the dispatcher on the phone. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I think he was a little scared.
A few minutes later, Alexis had her baby in her arms.
We got to hear the baby's first cry over the phone, so that was really neat.
Alexis delivered a healthy baby girl named Mila, weighing 7 pounds and 2 ounces.
Yeah, I was so excited to have a girl. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to dress her so cute.
The delivery, a first for Ashley, too.
Fire can disregard.
Who, it just so happens, had only been on the job for a few weeks.
And after the call was over, I was like, okay, I just kind of sat there for a moment. My trainer looked at me, she goes, you just delivered a baby. And I was like, I just delivered a baby.
Ashley received an award for her efforts, and Mila is settling in nicely at home. Both women now sharing a unique bond without ever coming face to face.
And I'm so happy that, we was able to, she was able to experience that with us. And I know, like you were saying, that she was able to get an award and everything. That's amazing.
I'm surprised how calm everybody was when they're talking about it. I wonder if they were that calm during the moment.
I mean, I would have been freaking out. I just gotta tell you. Yeah. No, yeah, I can't imagine the boyfriend, husband, what he's going through there, from my perspective at least.
Yeah. The baby's beautiful.
The baby is beautiful, yes,
nice
very
outcome.
nice. Good outcome, yes.
Well, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Pell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, pharmacies at risk of closing leave patients worried about the future.
If Batson's didn't exist, how would you get your medications?
I would have to drive at least 100 miles round trip.
We examine why drugstores, both big and small, say they're losing money in the fight to keep services in small communities.